Welcome to the show, everybody. Joseph Robert, the fantasy football counselor. Today we're talking about the fantasy football 2020 impact of Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Yes, not Helaire, Helaire, like Claire, but with an H-E in front of it. Guys, I'm excited to talk about him. The Kansas City Chiefs invested their first round pick, which was 32nd overall, in the young LSU running back. I'm excited to dive into his impact going into 2020. Should you draft him? Should you not? I'm going to tell you everything you need to know. Let's get to the video. All right, guys, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. What do you do with this guy? LSU, 5'8", 205 to 209, 21 years old, born in 1999. Great vision, bounces off players, runs through tackles. It can run up the middle, up the side, can catch the ball out of the backfield. The guy had 55 receptions in college last year, guys, into his 2019 year, 215 attempts, 1,414 yards, 16 touchdowns on the ground. The talent is there, the upside is there. But should you draft him for fantasy football now that he's on the Chiefs? I'm going to discuss that. Now, before I get into that, guys, leave a comment below as soon as I'm done the video or during the video. Let me know what you think of Clyde Edwards. Really like to get your feedback. Leave a thumbs up and, of course, subscribe. I've also got a link below to my 16-round draft solution, the first ever and only video training to help you guys crush your fantasy football leagues. Sleepers, breakouts, optimized players in each round. Everything is there. The game changer, 16 rounds. And, of course, there's a link here below as well, guys, to the Impact Series where I break down individual players. You're absolutely going to love it. Now, if you're in the car, head on over to thefantasyfootballcounselor.com to get the 16-round draft solution. All right, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Should you draft him? I'm going to get into that, but let's talk about the facts. Let's dive in. Let's do some analytics. Now, the first round of the NFL draft was yesterday. By the time you're watching this, you know, it could be like in August. Who knows? But either way, it doesn't really change anything unless they acquire another running back, which I don't think the Chiefs will. So I think this video is going to hold true up until the season. Now, it was recorded April 24th, but again, there's a ton of insight here. If you're listening to this later, you know, in the summer, whatever, because again, the stats don't change from last year when it comes to Damian Williams, Darwin Thompson, LaShawn McCoy, and also I don't think they're going to acquire anyone else. So let's talk about it. Now, last year, Damian Williams played 11 games. So when I look at a guy like Damian Williams, who's going to be in the committee there with Clyde Edwards, I got to take a look and say, this guy has not finished a full year. He was one of those guys, years to wow me. I'm not wowed. He doesn't run up the middle very well. Again, kind of injury prone from what we've seen. He catches the ball pretty well, not the best. I see him drop some easy balls. Always runs to the outside and probably get some goal line work. So again, he's going to get some volume, but 111 attempts doesn't really concern me, okay? Because again, you know, you look at a guy like Zeke, he had 300 attempts. That's a true workhorse. Now, you could say, well, Damian Williams was injured, this and that, but that's not necessarily true. And what I'm about to tell you now is actually the bright side of Clyde Edwards. Here, let me get into this. So, when LaShawn McCoy came in, now he actually played 13 games, had 101 attempts for 465 yards, 4 touchdowns for him on the ground. Had some receptions, 28 receptions, nothing to get excited about, 181 yards, 1 receiving touchdown. So, listen, McCoy came in, and I guess in the back of their mind, they thought McCoy was actually good. I was telling you, like, he's been on a major decline. Like, McCoy is not good. He sucks. I mean, when he was running with the ball, you know, a foot away from his body, doing this stupid jiggle, shake type thing, and he just kept fumbling, and he sucked, and he was terrible. But the bright side was, when he came in, even with Williams there, McCoy was getting a ton of the volume. I don't know whether the Chiefs thought and the coaching staff and the owners thought that maybe McCoy's going to be a workhorse running back and he could carry a bulk of the load, because they, like myself, probably know, right? Because if they're investing a first-round pick in 2020 in the NFL draft in a running back, they absolutely know that Damian Williams is not the full-term solution. Now, mind you, they still ended up pulling it together with that amazing offense and Pat Mahomes and winning a Super Bowl, but they know that Williams is not going to be the answer. So they had to draft a running back. So then I looked at, you know, the situation. I saw, you know, last year McCoy was getting a bulk of the work and Williams was on the bench there, and they kept feeding McCoy in a couple of games, thinking like, okay, this is the guy. But then they realized he wasn't the guy, and they brought Williams back in. So when you look at a guy like Clyde Edwards, my first concern is he has not really taken on a full workload. Again, he had a pretty decent year in LSU last year in 2019, but he hasn't, the years before, didn't really have the full workload. Like, this was his biggest year in regards to attempts, volume, touchdowns, and everything was 2019. So, he hasn't done it for years. And a lot of people could say, well, that's a good thing, Joe. He's got more, juice, more gas in the tank, more juice in the tank, right? He hasn't been abused and used, right? Yes, but is he going to be able to take on that full role? That's a bit of a concern. Now, it could be a riding of the hot hand in KC, right? That could be a big thing. If he comes in, tears it up. Again, he's got better vision. He's obviously a better, more talented running back than Damien Williams, who spent most of his career on the bench as a third or fourth stringer in Miami prior to even being considered on KC. And the only reason Williams did anything good was because he was a product of KC. So now you've got an actual running back who's actually really good, really talented, great vision. I like it. I like the upside here. I mean, this could be Kareem Hunt all over again, like back in, what was it, 2017 or whatever that year was. Listen, this could be a special thing they've got. They've got a guy that could be the absolute full solution here, guys. And that is something that I am looking at when I am looking at possibly drafting Clyde Edwards here for 2020 fantasy football. So, again, the big question is for 2020 fantasy football, do you draft Clyde Edwards-Helaire? What do you do with him? And I'm going to tell you, I got to watch a lot of the off-season stuff. I got to see what the training camps do, and I got to see and get a feel for what the coaching says. Now, one thing I've learned with fantasy football is I don't trust what coaching says, and that's a big thing for me. So for me, here's how I feel about him. Now, my one concern is he did not, again, get that full workload in college until 2019. Got, the 215 attempts, 1,400 yards. So that upside is there now. Reed and the coaching are saying that, they remind him of Priest Holmes. So maybe there's an inkling in my mind thinking, okay, Priest Holmes was a fantasy stud back in 2002, 2003. Maybe they want to make him that workhorse. Maybe this is what they're looking for. And again, the fact that they looked at McCoy in several of those games is hinting to me saying, okay, they wanted to make McCoy kind of a workhorse, but they couldn't do that. They wanted to kind of make Williams a workhorse, but they couldn't do that. Now, Darwin Thompson's there. The guy, I liked him as a late round stash last year. I thought he would definitely get some more work. Obviously, I don't believe in him. I don't know if pass protection is an issue there. He is a little undersized. Maybe that's the issue. But again, it's a bit of a committee. But here's the good news, okay? The committee that Clyde Edwards has to get through isn't that big of a deal. Like, Damien Williams sucks. And a lot of people say, no, he's not, Joe. He was good. He could have been MVP in the Super Bowl. Dude, he was a product of the offense. The same way Le'Veon Bell was a product of the offense with the Steelers. They did nothing on the Jets. This guy is not that good. And I hate to burst the bubble for you guys that drafted, Damien Williams in the second round. I told you to stay away. Now, we don't know. I like Clyde Edwards. I think I'm going to consider grabbing him if I can get him at the right ADP. If I can get him in the third round, I think that's phenomenal talent. As my RB3, heck yeah. Will I invest a second round pick and make him my RB2? Probably not. I don't like the sounds of that. But again, I like the ceiling. I like the upside. It can be a Kareem Hunt, a couple years ago, rushing leader title type thing. Because again, now you've got, Damien Williams did okay. And again, he's a sucky running back. But now you've got a guy who's actually really good in a system that could really help him perform. So what I'm thinking here is the ceiling is high. And then I look at it, okay? Damien Williams, 11 games, 111 attempts. Why did he get that? Well, part of that was McCoy sucked, right? But then again, it's 11 games. So let's just say Williams comes in and gets, let's say he gets 120 attempts next year. Okay, that's pretty conservative. He gets 120 attempts. That means there could be another 200, right? 200 plus attempts for Clyde Edwards if he proves he's the guy. Again, rookie coming into the NFL. He's got to adjust his speed. Will he be a starter out of the gate? This is the annoying thing about it, right? If you do invest in Clyde Edwards pretty early, you may be annoyed because Williams could come in and be the starter. We don't know. We're going to know that as we get closer to the season, as the depth charts align, and then maybe the Kansas City Chiefs say, hey, you know what? Clyde Edwards-Helaire is our starter. And if I get that inkling, his ADP is going to rise, and then maybe I'll consider drafting him, and maybe I'm going to see a little more upside. But again, I love the talent. I love the upside. And when I look at this entire situation, I think the resistance is very minimal to getting up top because, again, Damien Williams is not that good. Darwin Thompson, clearly not as good as Williams because he hasn't gotten the start there. I think he's better, but he just never got that opportunity. So when I look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire, definitely a guy that's got a high ceiling, a ton of upside, but again, he's got a boom to average potential. I'm not going to say he's got a boom or bust. I don't think he's going to completely bust out. But if he's slated as a starter and people, let's say, draft him really high, let's say the second round, and then in comes Williams and is a pest, then you've got an issue. But if I was the Kansas City Chiefs, here's what I would do. I would start Clyde Edwards and make him the workhorse. And if he fails, get Darwin Thompson. Because again, I do not believe in Damien Williams being the guy. And again, they tried to make him the guy, didn't fit the role. Once a backup, always a backup. And it's a mentality thing. It really is. And, you know, he's been kind of set to that bar of like mediocrity. And I'm not expecting Damien Williams to come out and really, really shine, okay? So that is something to look at. Now, McCoy, I don't know where he ends up. I just hope he gets shipped off. And if it was up to me, I would ship Damien Williams off because you're tying up money in a guy you don't really need because you can get a lot of depth with Darwin Thompson, Darrell Williams, and you make Clyde Edwards your workhorse running back. Then you're locked and loaded and you don't got to worry about anything, okay? So that is my prediction. I love Clyde Edwards. I think the upside is there. I am right now waiting for him to be slated as a starter. And again, as of right now, the way it sits in April, this guy could be a top 10 finisher. You heard it right here. Clyde Edwards could be a top 10, top 5 running back. That's the potential as long as Damien Williams goes away and nothing else obstructs his volume. This guy is set in an offense to completely dominate and take over. But again, it's all predicated on whether they put him in a committee, split the volume, or if they ride the hot hand and he becomes the workhorse. Amazing stuff. Guys, leave a comment below. Let me know, are you drafting Clyde Edwards-Helaire? Really curious to see what you're doing there. Smash that thumbs up. And of course, get the 60-round draft solution where I update the notes in that up until the season starts, and you're going to know exactly where I'm going to be drafting Clyde Edwards, if at all, for 2020 fantasy football. Thank you guys for being here, and I will see you in the next video.